Welcome in, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Wednesday, the 19th of February. I am with Will White today. We're going to be discussing Premier League action, a big match, Villa versus Liverpool, and Champions League as well. Will, good to have you aboard. How's it going for you this week?
Yeah, well, good, mates. Good day to all the viewers out there. Get your questions in. I can actually see the comments now, so I will try my best to answer them. I missed a few last week. But I've also got to say, I really love the intro music, Steve. I'm quite a big EDM fan, and it had EDM vibes. So yeah, let's keep that one in the rotation.
Yeah, we've got loads of different intros now. Music, you never know which one's going to show up. But like I say, welcome in to everyone. Loads of comments even before the show started today. Rick Haley, Paul Laguna, the likes of that. Byron Duncan, good to see you all. Man City questions back on again. Are they back? We'll discuss Man City later. Don't you worry, everyone. And yes, there's plenty of house specials to get. Looking forward to and stuck into as well. Disky, good to see you. Foxy, always a pleasure. And we're going to do our best to answer all the questions about all the games. There's often quite a lot of comments on the Champions League shows today, so if we don't get directly to your comment, don't worry. But we do see them all now, especially now that Will has accessed to them all after he didn't know the button last week. But yeah, unusually, for this is the second week in a row, actually, we've got a massive Premier League game in addition to the Champions League one. So I think we're going to have to start at Villa Park because this is where there's going to be a lot of action today on the Bet Rivers Sportsbook. Aston Villa plus 295 against Liverpool side, who will be popular here. 96% of the money is on Liverpool, minus 118 on the money line. That's a very attractive sort of line and price for a lot of people on a team like Liverpool. Over 3.5 goals at plus 135. Both teams score, yes, minus 200, because perhaps the Liverpool defense hasn't been at the levels they want it to be of late. This is the subject of Nigel's newsletter pick. He's kind of been against Liverpool recently, and he likes Villa to get something here. They've been a bit wobbly of late. Will, do you fully trust Liverpool in this fixture?
No, I don't. It's not that I don't trust them. It's I think they look like they might be lacking a bit of intensity. They have the last couple of weeks, and I think I agree with Nigel. My pick here is actually Villa plus 3/4, minus 130. So half stake returned if they lose by 1. But look at Liverpool's fixture list. 8 games in December, 8 games in January, and they will have 8 games in February eventually. They've had 5 so far. This will be their 6th, and they've got Man City and Newcastle to come in quick succession. I think they're gonna pay for their lack of rotation and their crammed fixture schedule eventually, and this might be the night. I know Villa have got quite a few injuries in defence. But for me, they pose enough threat, especially with the additions of Rashford and Asensio, that it makes sense to back them plus 3/4 goal. That to me is pretty attractive line.
Villa have quite a few injuries heading into this game, especially at the back. Bo Torres, Konsa's ruled out, Onana, Babaka Kamara as well, Matty Cash on the treatment table. I don't even think Tyrone Mings has been particularly fully fit of late either. So I think they could be got at defensively here. And I like over 3 Asian goals myself at minus 124. I think there can be a bare minimum of 3. I'm a bit wary of Unai Emery. In the big games, he sometimes sets up the team more defensive-minded, and we've seen them, I think, last season beat Man City and Arsenal 1-0 here. So you got to respect that. But I'm not sure he can do that here with the absences he's got. I think I mentioned off air, fighting fire with fire could be something that Aston Villa have got to do. And they've got weapons. I mean, Ollie Watkins is plus 132 to score or assist here. I think that's a great market to get with Watkins because he's not just a scorer anymore. He does provide goals. And Villa are going to have to, I think, get on the score sheet, possibly at least twice here to get something out of the game. So that's my bet for the game, over 3 Asian goals myself. In terms of Liverpool, Will, where do you have them in your rankings? You mentioned Arsenal before, pretty high up in your in the Champions League standings for you. Do you rank Arsenal as better than Liverpool in the Premier League? Where do Man City even fit in with all this? Just out of interest.
I have Liverpool best team in the Premier League and best team in Europe at the moment. I know that's not a particularly original take, but I said last week that I'd Bayern up there with Liverpool, and they were until yesterday, and obviously had to give them a bit of a downgrade for yesterday and also for being completely dominated by Leverkusen over the weekend. So yeah, Liverpool on their own now, and then kind of Bayern and Arsenal. Arsenal as well with their injuries. Like, again, Arsenal, another team I tipped up last week, and since then they've had Havertz and Martinelli injured and so completely decimated. So yeah, I couldn't really support the Arsenal view. But in terms of ratings, Liverpool best team in Europe at the moment. You know, these kind of intangibles like fixture lists, will it catch up with them? Will they start to get some injuries? They've kind of been lucky this season so far with injuries. So although they're rated best team in Europe according to my ratings, these ratings are dynamic and can change quite quickly.
Because then Liverpool price looks big. Is it a trap? Is it a Star Wars game? As I call it, don't know. I think it could be potentially for Liverpool money line, but if they won, you know, it probably isn't the biggest shock in the world. Plus 3/4 of a goal, that's your pick for the game, Will. And mine is over 3 Asian goals. Something like a 2-2 draw wouldn't shock me here. You know, it could have happened at the weekend if Wolves had taken their chances. And you know, Liverpool just about got over the line in that game. There's a house special from Bet Rivers, Mo Salah and Luis Diaz each to score or assist, and Liverpool to win at plus 450. Bit of an ambitious one, maybe, but both players have been in very good form. Mo Salah by himself is actually plus money to score any time here, so that's going to attract plenty of attention. If I was to take a Liverpool prop, that probably would be the one, actually, just Mo Salah on his own to score in the game on penalty kicks, of course. And you know, I do fancy some goals. 79% of the money's on the over. Thought there might be a bit more actually on that, but yeah, it's an intriguing game. Let us know if you are gonna trust Liverpool today in the comments. We're really not sure about them from the team here because we win. But yeah, moving on to Champions League action, and I mean, first of all, Will, I think I better get your reaction from the first 12 games that we've had in this match day in the playoff round. Just 2 out of 12 matches, the favourite has covered their main Asian handicap line, which that is a low number. Yesterday, we saw quite a few shocks, if we're being honest. Celtic nearly won. They were a +2 dog. Club Bruges won 3-1 as a +1 underdog. Feyenoord shocked everyone by getting a result against Milan. And, you know, Benfica Monaco was just a shootout. I mean, the underdogs have suddenly become quite competitive. Will, I mean, can you put that down to anything? Maybe our team's being underestimated for. I guess if you qualify, you earn some respect.
Oof. I mean, there's quite a lot to unpack, I think, in that question. First of all, I would say sharp money generally in football betting tends to bet underdogs and tends to bet underdogs on handicaps, tends to bet the unfashionable teams, the unpopular teams. This has traditionally been kind of how the syndicates that predominantly move these lines operate and find value. But in regards to what we've seen so far in the knockout stages, particularly last night with Celtic, Feyenoord and Club Bruges, particularly Club Bruges, that the 3-1 scoreline flattered them massively. In fact, if you look at the underlying data, it was kind of the type of game that Atalanta deserved to win 3-1. Feyenoord, likewise, AC Milan were in complete control until Theo Hernandez did a Theo Hernandez thing. And Celtic were just very good. And Bayern underwhelming. And Bayern have been underwhelming for the last 2 fixtures at least. And so you never know what you're going to get with Bayern. It's hard to trust them, right? And so I would say it's just variance. And I'd say we shouldn't look into it too much. But then at the same time, this is the knockout stages. And probably ties are going to be tighter. But it is easy to predict these trends in retrospect. And this game is about trying to predict them in advance.
Yeah, and the draws came back as well. 3 out of 4 draws. Music to Dan Roebuck's ears, who I think was going skint by backing all the draws. But Dan's back in business after those results yesterday evening. Just a comment there, going back to the Liverpool game about Meninda and injuries. I do agree there. I read a good article about the Arne Slot philosophy at Feyenoord as well. and his squads have not suffered many injuries in the last 3-4 years, and I don't think that is luck. Then is it? I think you do. There's different ways. Look at the Spurs regime under Ange Postecoglou. It's he may well have to change his approach to training and matches to reduce the. There is definitely something in that with injuries. There he is, Dan. He's back in the game. Yeah, Dan, are you backing more draws today in the Champions League? That's a good question. And will we see this sort of trend of underdogs doing well? Dortmund against Sporting Lisbon here. 3-0 win for Borussia Dortmund in leg one. You nailed it, Will. You said Dortmund will qualify. I can't see beyond that now. A team that I can never get right. And it was typical Dortmund. They lost against bottom club Bochum, or one of the teams at the bottom, in the Bundesliga at the weekend, 2-0. So, 3-0 advantage. They should secure their passage to the last 16. Sporting Lisbon plus 320 on the night just to win. They've got to win to have any chance. Loads of injuries for the Portuguese champions here, including Victor Gyökeres. I was going to get involved in the goals over 2.5 if they, Sporting were at full strength offensively, but missing Gyökeres, you've got to adjust your goal line, I think. So now I'm in a position where this is probably a wise decision for me not to actually bet in a Dortmund game. You actually do like the German team here, though.
Yeah, I think I find it a little bit easier to trust Dortmund than you do for whatever reason. I still don't fully trust them for the record, but yeah, I think this tie has been more about and is more about Sporting than it is Dortmund. They're just a little bit strange at the moment. They do have a lot of injuries now, and but still, their team news, their selections have been weird. In the first leg, Morita and Gyökeres were both on the bench, and I think Hulsmund was suspended as well. So there was a huge market move for Dortmund there, ended up going off draw no bet. And then they leave Gyökeres, Morita's injured, and Trincao all at home. Danny Brancacha is also, I'm not sure his first name is Danny, apologies if it isn't, but Brancacha's also long-term injury. So they're completely decimated going forward. And I like Dortmund, even though markets, and bettors in general tend to hate betting on teams that don't need to win. I think Dortmund are just so strange, and they, having lost at the weekend, that they probably will just go and absolutely batter Sporting here. Sporting will also pour over the weekend, right? 2-2 draw with Aruca, I believe, at home. Dortmund were dominant in that first leg. They've got a big home advantage. They will have a big crowd in to celebrate, this what should be going through quite comfortably to Champions League round of 16. So yeah, Dortmund for me. And then also I've got a couple of shots on targets that I like. I like Adeyemi and Jamie Gittins. Both have the exact same shots on target per 90 this season of 1.2, which is very high. And respectively, -1.817 and -112 to have over 0.5 shots on target. Both of those look too big to me. I think the odds will probably stick around until kickoff as well, given it's the early kickoff and we're only 1.5 hours from that. So yeah, Dortmund to win straight up on the nose, as you would say, Steve, -124, and then Adeyemi and Gittins, both from Dortmund, to register shots on target against this decimated Sporting Lisbon 11.
Yeah, and 85% of the money is on Dortmund with 84% of the tickets. There is actually, in terms of the over-under market here, over 2.5 goals at -159 there. 81% of the tickets are on the over, but 71% of the money is on the under. So it looks like professional money is on for the under for this game. And that could happen. There's a feeling in the back of my head that Sporting Lisbon may have given up the ghost here a bit with the players that they're not bringing to Germany. They're 3-0 down. They've just dropped points in the Portuguese Super League. I think that's their priority now, rest of the season, to win that competition. I mean, Man United had ruined their season, really. That's the long and short of it, is taking Ruben Amorim away. It's been an absolute mess for them. They've got the new guy in from Vitória Guimarães, probably ruined Guimarães' season as well. So this knock-on effect. I'm not even sure how strong the Portuguese league is, to be honest, Will. I'm not even sure Benfica, Porto are that great of a team. So I could actually go along with this. Dortmund winning. Dortmund need a reaction. Someone said in the comments they need a reaction after the Bochum result, losing against a local rival there. So they'll be up for it. They're the sort of team that they don't need to win it, but they want to win it, don't they? In front of their home fans, the yellow wall and all that. So
Steve, I'm not having you follow me in on one of my best bets of the night. Can you walk that back a bit, please? Because I know you're going to bock it, and Dortmund are one of your.
With Dortmund involved, I'm going to bock it, aren't I?
The last thing we need is to make it the show special, and all of us to pile in Dortmund because I think we all know what happens next.
This is a concern, isn't it? That I kind of, if I'm going to give a prediction, I'm going to say 2-0 to Dortmund, and that doesn't usually go well, does it?
No. So let's not give that, and let's give 3-2 Sporting or something.
Yeah, you want to hear me? I like Sporting, but there's not much evidence to support them here in this early kickoff. There is no house special for the early kickoff, but we do have several house specials across the board tonight. Every team to score at least one goal in the Champions League games is plus 515. So you need all 8 teams to score a goal plus 515. You have to make your own mind up about whether you like that after we've covered all the games. There's also specials on corners, over 44.5 corners across the Champions League games at plus 150 if you like that on the house specials. Duarte Silva, they're welcome in. No Gyökeres or Trincao in the squad. Every Sporting fan is begging for the coach to rotate the squad and give up on the game. That's what I was thinking. Just the sense of, have they given up the ghost here? 3 down.
It's bizarre though. Like I don't get that. I don't get, even as a fan, let alone the actual management and coaching staff and players. How can you give up on a Champions League game? Okay, it's quite a defeatist attitude. It's not one I can ever imagine myself having personally, and I just don't empathise with that. Like, you know, I believe Sporting have got a very, very winnable domestic game in the Portuguese league against AVS this weekend. Very winnable. They should win it quite comfortably. They should be giving this their all. Yes, 3-0 down, but this is what dreams are made of, right? A comeback, la remontada, however you say that in Portuguese. But yeah, I just don't get that attitude myself, Danny. Duarte,
was that ABS? I think the brakes are going to come off for that game, right?
ABS.
ABS. Yeah. I don't actually know who ABS are.
Yeah, but neither do I. I think they've got a longer name than that I don't know.
Yeah, okay. There was this niche Sporting need to focus on the league, and it's a German win here. So worryingly, yeah, everyone kind of likes Dortmund here. Yeah, hopefully they can deliver for you, Will. Here it's a good price, minus 124 for the game. We're going to talk about Man City, Real Madrid later on. Let's move to Eindhoven now in the Netherlands. And I mean, last week there wasn't so much love for a certain Dutch city. Eindhoven, don't know what it's like there. This first leg, I enjoyed it. It was a good match. Juventus won it late. I was on Juve that night. And then you shockingly followed it up with a win against Inter. I never saw that coming in a million years at all. I thought that was a sandwich game for them that Inter would win. But fair play to Juve. PSV plus 130 to win on the night. Juventus plus 190. The ties at plus 265. The over-under goal line for me, it's so hard to get involved here because if Juventus score, this is going to open massively up. But if PSV were to get the first goal, it could actually even get tighter. So I don't know about the goal line. I've got a feeling Juventus will come here and play for a draw. That's what they've done all season, right? They've had so many draws. And a draw will do them here, get them through the last 16. The start of the week, I thought about taking PSV, but I don't know. I don't know here. I'm leaning towards the tie, actually. We're due more draws, aren't we? Is this plus 133 now on PSV? Is that a fair price?
My initial thoughts on this game were Juventus plus a quarter. That was what I initially was thinking. And then I reacquainted myself with PSV's home record, where they're unbeaten, unbelievably, since November 2022, which is insane. And it's not really a record I want to take on with much conviction. So next line of thinking was, well, there seems to be a lot of money for unders here, probably sharp money, and probably the dynamic you described about two of the three. You know, if you think of this in game state, kind of game theory kind of way, two of the three potential courses of this match probably mean to it closing down, shutting down rather than opening up. You know, if it's 0-0 or PSV score, it could continue to be a game that Juve and then PSV, if they were to go 1-0 up, look to shut down. But normally in second legs, you'll find a goal line that's 0.4 of a goal higher than the first leg. You know, this idea that often one team has to chase a game in the second leg, it makes complete sense. Here, the goal line is actually a quarter lower than it was first leg, which is really surprising to me. It's verging on 2.5. And I just think that all things considered, if that continues to drift, despite me being able to see the angles for unders and why there's some money coming for it, I quite like the overs. Juve's defense has been a bit shakier over the past month than it otherwise has been. I'm not sure about playing Weah at right back and Savona at left back and Vega at centre back. I'm not sure about it. And PSV at home, chasing the game, they do not strike me as kind of having any sort of unders vibes. So, yeah, it's unfortunately the Bet Rivers line is shaded quite strongly towards the overs. So perhaps the Bet Rivers traders are thinking along the same lines as I am. But if that gets to -120, -116, I'm start to get interested there.
I like this game as an in-play potential, actually, for goals, especially if Juventus score. And just even watching the vibe of the match and the flow of the gameplay, you're absolutely right. You've got a team in PSV, I think, I'm not saying they want a shootout, but they don't mind an open game, do they? And you've got a Juventus side who probably want a more closed type of affair, but you're right. I mean, the XG numbers in that Juve Inter match at the weekend were through the roof. I think one goal scored and there was about 4 XG combined. I couldn't believe the goal in the first leg, by the way. Weston McKennie for Juventus. Yeah. What a hit. I mean, where was that for when he was at Leeds? I mean, he was one of the worst players I've ever seen in the Premier League for Leeds.
Yeah,
I'm really well for Juventus.
Yeah, I'm surprised myself that he starts these big games, but yeah.
Remarkable. Money splits for the game. 77% of the money is on Juventus. That could well be on reputation and name. I actually thought there'd be more money on PSV here as the favourite. 66% of the money's on the over. So I think bettors can't decide whether they want to bet over or under here. And I can't either. For me, it's game state dependent. But I can see why you're a little bit maybe contrarian there to the general consensus. That I think if you ask most people what's the correct score going to be here, a lot would say draw. A lot would say 1-0 to PSV.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to go with Cracky. What am I going to go with? Who's going to qualify from this tie, Will, do you think?
I said Juve before the first leg, so I should really stick with it. I would be nervous about that PSV home record, though, but I just think they might be a bit too streetwise. And with Colomwani up front, they've got an extra dimension. So, yeah, Juve just.
Yeah, T-Son Kingsley there. Where has this Kolo Muani been for PSG in France? You're absolutely right. There's something in the water at Juventus, isn't there? They seem to bring some players in who've been flops for their clubs or whatever, even their countries, and perform here at the Old Lady. It could be a Serie A thing, I'm not sure, but Kolo Muani has looked decent. What is he any time to score here? Plus 220, I think it was, for those who are interested in keeping back him. He's been pretty hot recently. Plus 210 any time scorer. Luke de Jong, by the way, plus 200 for PSV. Should be on penalty kicks. And, I mean, this guy's scored a lot of goals down the years. Fox in the box, genuine poacher. Is this his sort of night? I'm not betting on the game at all. I'm really struggling for a prediction, actually. Go on, 2-1 PSV then. Something's going to go extra time here and penalties, I think, eventually tonight. This could be the match. But, yeah, I would go Juventus to qualify overall. Okay, so PSG now against Brest. For me, this match is the least probably interesting of the night, both in terms of the soccer and the betting, because it's similar to the Sporting Dortmund game in the, the tie, really, it's done, isn't it? If we're being honest with you, to qualify, there's no odds listed there. And there's a reason for it, because it looks like a slam dunk for PSG. This, for me, goes one or two ways. Will Brest, by the way, on the night to win at 12-1, PSG minus 590. It's either going to be a damp squib where both teams just accept what's going to happen, especially second half, and it could be like a 1-0 or something. Or Brest actually come here and have a go and just open up and say, do you know what? So what? We don't care now. If we lose 6-0, so be it. And I don't know. I can't decide which direction it will go in. I'd lean more towards it being an under, but it all depends which sort of attitude of Brest shows up. Will here, I would say. What do you think?
That's interesting, because I was always looking at this matchup through how PSG approach it. But the conclusion I came to is there's no such thing as a dead rubber for Luis Enrique. I just don't think he does them. I just am quite excited by this PSG team. And that's the first time I've said that, I think. Maybe now's not the time, but I think maybe eventually...
This is the first time ever since you've ever been on one of these shows since we started.
I mean, in terms of, year in, year out, we've got tipsters that kind of, and I think I've got to put you in this group, Steve, that come out and say tip up PSG at, a big price of 16-1 or 18-1, and they always disappoint. But I think this might be the year, and it's a bit counterintuitive given they lost Mbappe over the summer, but they're a bit of a juggernaut at the moment. 15 out of 16 wins. By 9 numbers, Brest are actually bottom half Ligue 1. So if PSG are up for this, I think that -2 Asian handicap might be shattered, although it's hard to really pull the trigger, given that they don't need to win. And then the over and under 3.5 line, I think isn't attractive either. So for me, it's Desiree Doué -125 to have over 0.5 shots on targets. He's probably only 70% likely to start, something like that. But he's a hugely talented young player who's really starting to make his mark. And stake refunded if he doesn't start. I think he's way more likely than not to have a shot on target here. But yeah, I'd like to take PSG -2, but because of the fact they don't need to win, there could potentially be question marks as to just how much they're going to go for this. And I wouldn't really be able to make a judgment on how Brest are likely to approach this.
There's a very low card line for this game. Under 3.5 cards is as short as -155. Referee is Michael Oliver, English referee, averages 5.34 cards per game in the Champions League this season and nearly 5 cards per game in the Premier League. But worth mentioning with Michael Oliver, he's been involved in a lot of recent controversy, especially the Wolves-Arsenal game and especially the Merseyside derby. I think Michael Oliver, if you asked him right now, he would want a very easy match tonight. He wants to come out with no headlines, no controversy, probably not many cards, no ridiculous penalties or reds. So I don't think he's going to be looking for cards. So I actually quite liked under 4.5 cards, but not at the prices or lines. Bet Rivers have adjusted very accordingly to that. Both teams score yes at -114. This is something Brest have done against PSG, apart from in the first leg in all of the last 6. And then, to be fair to them, they did hit the crossbar first leg, had some chances. I personally think PSG will try and play like they did at the weekend against Toulouse, control the game. They're not maybe that bothered about racking up the score or anything. But if Brest come at them, they're not going to turn down the opportunity for goals. If Brest, I was going to say expose themselves there, but I can't really say that on this show. If Brest offer too much and leave gaps at the back. But yeah, if you're saying a joke there, anytime score +400, he's a nightmare to deal with. As I said, he was the one who hit the crossbar off the corner. Yeah, I don't know. I'd lean both teams score yes, just on the premise that Brest do not give up entirely. I think they can focus on the Coupe de France after this, and comfortably survive in Liga. The splits for the game, this is not a surprise. It's not actually the most particularly high wage game, and it's because maybe the game state as well. But 93% of the money and 97% of the tickets are on PSG, as you might expect. 70% of the money's on the over. What we're going to do here for a correct score prediction, then, Will?
I'll go 3-1 PSG.
Yeah, I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1 to PSG. Brest to show a bit of dignity here and go out somewhat fighting to a degree. Okay, yeah, we've got one more match to discuss, but before that, I just want to promote the Because We Win newsletter. I'll put the link up on chat here now, but it's a free weekly newsletter. It's been doing really well this season. We provide bets 3-4 days in advance, sometimes futures as well, weeks or months in advance. Last week, Nigel had a great winner with Real Madrid draw no bet in Manchester. I had a good win in the Conference League as well. It's completely free. It'll be in your inbox every Monday. Do join it if you've not already. And if you're new to the chat, that'd be great. If you could give us a like and a subscription as well to our YouTube channel. We're closing in on 8,000 subscribers. With the biggest game of the day, we leave it till the end. Real Madrid against Manchester City. Crazy first leg in Manchester. 3-2 win for Real Madrid out of nowhere in the end, really. Man City won't know how they lost that one. And they've got to win now in Madrid to have any chance of progressing. So plus 230 on the night for them. Real Madrid minus 106. We had so many comments in Monday's stream with Dan and Jack yesterday as well. We talked about it with me and Lewis. And the general question is, are Manchester City back after the 4-0 win against Newcastle at the weekend? Was that a result that made you sit up, Will, and say, right, I'm going to massively adjust my ratings now because they might be back? What's your opinions?
A little bit, although the market's not convinced because they did drift like a barge before that game. They were pretty good, but again, I don't think Newcastle were really at it. And I think the question about City is how much does Nico Gonzalez really make a difference? Is he a mini Rodri? Does he provide that physicality and legs in the center of the park? Or is he, a poor man's Rodri? I think I'd lean towards somewhere in the middle. He has the potential to be a mini Rodri, but yeah, I'm not convinced, to be honest with you, Steve.
Did Real Madrid convince you? Because the amount of times that they seem to get out of jail with their individual quality is quite remarkable. They have periods in nearly every game where they're flat and can be got at. It's not that often you actually see Real Madrid produce a complete 90 minutes, but I guess they'll argue they don't need to because of the qualities that they have at their dispensal here. Minus money to win the second leg. Now, you like this on Real Madrid, don't you? I want you to explain why you think them to win this second leg is a value bet.
I had a plan to come on this show with Real Madrid plus 120 on the money line and come on and tip it up. But sadly, somebody put a lot of money on Man City this morning, but it got smashed right back in their face. So Real did get to kind of plus 110 and then got smashed right back in. And I think you've basically got two opposing syndicates, two opposing views here. And I side on the Real Madrid side of the fence. So unfortunately, we're not going to get the plus 110 unless we see a late drift. But I think the price is just about good enough. 9 defeats in the last 14 away for City, which is insane. And I think of the 5 where they avoided defeat, 3 were wins and 2 were draws, something like that. And one of the wins was against who was it was it Salford they played in the FA Cup? Anyway, I can't remember. It was an FA Cup win.
8-0, yeah. And then Leyton Orient was a winner in FA Cup as well.
Yeah, so and then the 3 draws or the 2 draws. One was Brentford away where they kind of got pummeled for a while. The other was Ipswich. No, the other of the wins was Ipswich away where they really weren't that convincing for an hour or so. And so I'm really not convinced. But Real Madrid, I'm not fully convinced with either, for the record. But I just think in a big Champions League tie, it's when you're likely to get the best and the highest levels of motivation, particularly against City, for the likes of Vinicius, who's still got the chip on his shoulder about the Ballon d'Or, which we mentioned last week. And if you look at the
how good was that tifo from Man City last week?
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah, it was very good. But I mean, I think Vinny had the last laugh, and I'm pretty confident he's going to have the last laugh here as well. Even though I'd like to see City go through, I don't think they will. I think we'll see a similar game plan to the first leg from Ancelotti. It might be slightly more defensive. I think actually both managers, if we're talking about the total for a second, I think both managers might be more defensive-minded than we expect here. And I think we might see Real Madrid with Rudiger, Asensio, and then Tchouaméni as the holding midfielder, which would be slightly more defensive than Tchouaméni as a centre-back. And we might see some weird Pep lineup. He likes to tinker and throw some shocks out there. I'm going to predict Haaland doesn't start, but I think it might actually be a good thing for City, which is bizarre, but I think Marmoush might be better suited to playing in this game as the central striker with Foden, De Bruyne and Savinho off him. A bit more mobility, a bit more of something that Haaland doesn't really give this City lineup. But that's my prediction in terms of lineups. I think there'll be a shock from Pep, and it might be no Haaland. He is carrying a knock as well. But yeah, main bet here is Real Madrid. Anything I have written in my notes, anything plus money, but I doubt we're going to see plus money again. And then I did also have written lean under 3.5, but I think I'm going to chuck that out because I think even if both coaches approach this more defensively than we expect, it could be kind of like a 1-0, 1-1 at halftime, then blow up in the second half. And I wouldn't want to give out a tip that I don't fully believe in it lasting the duration. So maybe if you were to back the under 3.5, look to hedge at halftime or at some point in running.
So if this goal line was at 3 or 3.25, you know exactly what bet I would be on, Will.
Yeah.
And it would be overs all day. Just like I was on last week, the 3.25 goal line, and I was eyeing the same up again. But the goal line's gone up to 3.75, effectively. 3.5, I suppose, as well, if you get on that. But I can't be taking a line 2 more than what was last week. And also, 1-0 Man City, 2-1 Man City takes us to extra time. Any low-scoring draw suits Real Madrid or a low-scoring win suits Real Madrid. So I can't be going on the overs here as much as I would want to. My newsletter pick is Mbappe to score anytime, -109. I still like that one. I think he's the biggest threat they have. If Man City do overcommit, he is, he's got the pace to get in behind. Penalties for Real Madrid. Is Mbappe on those these days? I think so. The sort of game he'll probably wrestle himself in for. The referee, Slavko Vincic, someone was mentioning about the referee, Slovenian referee, who just 3.4 cards average per game in the UCL this season. I've seen him operate before. He's a bit of a fussy ref, actually. Very tough one to get a read on, actually. Not a referee I tend to get involved. Someone suggests that maybe City more cards plus 100. I don't know which team. I mean, this actually was a cardless first leg, incredibly, although Clement Turpin was in the middle. And he's a completely different referee entirely. He's like from a different planet, so we can't really judge him compared to other refs. Loads of specials in this game. Kylian Mbappe or Erling Haaland to score 2 or more at plus 230. I would be tempted. That is a special that really would tempt me, Will. I mean, Mbappe, I like him to score anyway. Haaland can be a mismatch on his day. Either of them to get 2 or more goals at plus 230. Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham each to score or assist, and Real Madrid to win at plus 450. Would that float your boat, do you think?
Maybe. I was still thinking about the first special, and I certainly can't endorse that, given I've got a sneaky feeling Haaland's not going to start. Presumably it would be voided if Haaland doesn't start.
It would actually, yeah. It would be completely void even if Mbappe was to go on to get 2 goals, I think.
Yeah, that would be a bummer, wouldn't it? But yeah, I saw quite a few comments about Rico Lewis, actually. I think if he starts, he's going to get cooked. But I don't think he will start. It would be, I don't know what. I I don't know what Pep's going to do at right back, but if I had to guess, it'd probably be Kushyanov.